Hello and welcome to Camp Westerbork, which is located in the Netherlands. So I've actually been here before, tried to record a video, but unfortunately during the editing process I kind of accidentally deleted all the footage. So today I am back and I'm just gonna tell you a few stories, maybe some interesting facts that you didn't know. I've mounted my GoPro on my back, and I'm gonna walk through the camp. I've set out a little route of what I want to show you. So this is the entrance right there with the house of the camp commander. I'll tell you more about that when we get back to that. So this is the main road. And a little bit about this camp itself. It was actually built in 1939 by the Dutch government in order to facilitate Jewish refugees that were escaping from Nazi Germany. And in 1942 the Germans actually took over, and they put Jews here and gypsies, Roma and Sinti as I should say. And after they were housed here, or forced to live here, they were moved to different camps such as Sobibor and Auschwitz and Treblinka and etc. And most footage that you can see about the deportation process have been recorded in this camp. The Germans didn't like all the Germans or SS members to record footage of the process, but here in this camp, I don't know why, but some Germans managed to capture some. And even the famous picture of a girl with her head in between the door of the train wagon was shot right here in this camp. There's actually an original wagon over there which we're gonna visit shortly after we've walked through the camp a bit more. I hope on the video that you can see the footage. There has been a documentary which is about the camp commander, and they've actually colorized the footage and it looks really surreal. So there's a train coming, and actually this train track was built in 1942 by the Jewish prisoners themselves. So before 1942 they had to walk from a village train station nearby with their luggage, and they had to walk to this camp. And after 1942 a train would stop, would divide the camp in two sections, and the people who were selected to go on transport were put on the train, and after 3 days they would usually arrive at Auschwitz or another camp. And we all know what happened there. They were again divided. Some were set to work and the others were unfortunately selected for the gas chambers. So right now we are in a section of the camp. I've got a map right here in front of me. This is where the quarantine camp was, right here. Maybe a bit over there if you can see my hand. It's in the corner or straight in front of you right now. This is where the sick prisoners would be housed until their infections or whatever the reason was, they would be transferred to another barrack, or a common barrack as you can say. Over there you can see a little hill, because most of this camp has been demolished. The only real visible thing is the foundation of where the buildings would have stood. So the kitchen was over there. The quarantine camp was to the right, and right now we're making our way to the place where one of the most famous prisoners actually was. That was Anne Frank. Hello. Hi. So Anne Frank, after she was captured by the Germans in Amsterdam, she was forced to go to the I think it's what's called the Schouw, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a building where they in peace times would perform plays, but it was used to house people, house Jews, and when there were enough they would be put on a transport to this camp. and because Anne Frank and her family tried to hide from the Germans, they were put into a special section of Camp Westerbork. They were put in a punishment section, and that is where we're going to go right now. And right here you can see some remains from barracks that were used after the war. So before the war, this camp was used to house Jewish refugees. During the war, it was used to house Jews and unwanted people, homosexuals, but also Roma and Sinti. And after the war, it was shortly used to house collaborators, traitors, and after that, it was actually used to facilitate the people who were coming from the Dutch Indies. So people who were living their lives in Indonesia, and after that war of independence, they chose to move to the Netherlands. They had to be housed somewhere, and the Dutch government chose to house them in this camp. So a lot of people lived here, for different reasons. But of course, the most famous reason why anyone would visit this camp is because of the Second World War and the Jews and the Roma and Sinti, and in general the unwanted people that were housed here. So straight in front of me, you can see a fence, and that was used to divide the general population of this camp and the prisoners that were housed under extra guard. And this is the place where Anne Frank would have lived. I don't know how long, to be honest. It could have been a few months or maybe a year, but she didn't live here that long. Most people didn't live here that long. They were just housed here. There was basically a transit camp, so they were housed here, and then on a Wednesday they would see the list of people that were selected for deportation, and on Thursday they would actually be deported, and a train would arrive here, would divide the camp, and you'd never know when you would be selected. You'd never know. So it was every week there was a tense few days, of course, because you didn't know if you were going to be selected or some of your relatives were going to be selected. And as I said, there's not much to see here. It's not like more famous camps like Auschwitz or Birkenau. It's just a patch of grass, some trees surrounding it. These trees weren't here during the war. It was just flat land, mud, probably some farmers working here as well. And it was guarded not only by the SS but also by the Dutch military police. They were also helping to guard to help and facilitate the Germans here, to help them guarding the Jews. Some people did manage to escape, but not that many actually. And to be honest, the conditions in this camp weren't that. It's hard to explain, but I almost want to say weren't that bad. But of course, the people who were living here were forced to live here. It wasn't their decision to live here. But it's not like an Auschwitz or at least a death camp, as you could say. It's a transit camp. So you had a football team here, you had a theater here, you had a school for children here, and I'm not saying that it was good. There were good circumstances, but they were far better than any other camp that the Germans used. So in the background you can see some satellites, or whatever you call them. They're still being used today. Right now we're just walking down the road to the end of the train track. Maybe I can tell you a bit more. So, how many people died in Camp Westerbork from June 1942 to to September 1944, a total of over 170,000 prisoners were deported from Westerbork by train, and only 5,000 of them returned alive. So that means that 102,000 people who departed from this place never came back, and were probably murdered in Sobibor or Auschwitz, Treblinka. The list goes on. So all these people were transported in 120 transports. So 120 trains left this place, excluding, of course, the era before 1942, when there were no trains departing from this camp, and they had to walk all the way to the nearest village, and they were put on a train right there, and they had to carry their luggage and everything they owned or had at that point, and had to walk. As of today, actually, you can get a bus, and he'll drive you there to towards the entrance of the camp. You can get picked up again, so it's a complete reverse of how it was used to be. And of course, I can just go home, and these people, most of them, were never able to go home. So there is this interesting story that is not that well known for even people who are visiting this camp. It's about Michiel, or Michieltje Prins. So Michieltje Prins, and the reason I'm telling this story is because it kind of shows the mentality of the camp commander and the facade they were trying to uphold here. And to an extension, you can see that as well. When people entered the gas chambers, there would be a band playing, and then there was this whole facade to keep people calm. So what I want to tell you right now is about Michieltje. So his mother has been imprisoned, was imprisoned in Camp Vught, which is a labor camp. Again, this is a transit camp. Of course, people work here as well. They would pick up crashed airplanes and to pick them apart for useful parts. But mostly people would be stationed here, and they would be deported. So Michieltje Prins, he was born in a camp in the middle of the Netherlands called Camp Vught. And he was really sick. So when he was just 6 days old, he and his mother were transported to this camp, Camp Westerbork. His mother had wrapped him up in various pieces of clothing to keep him warm. And upon their arrival at the camp on June 7, 1943, he was immediately sent to the hospital. There he was visited by the camp commander, Gemmeke. He was the camp commander from 1942, and I don't think all the way up until the end, but at least from 1942. And Gemmeke decided to help this very young boy. He contacted a special doctor from another city, a big city, all the way up the top in the Netherlands, a few hours to drive there. And that doctor came here to this camp, and he helped Michieltje. He made sure Michieltje was back on his feet and was healthy again, or as strong as a baby could be at that point, and during the circumstances of this camp. And after he was completely okay, and the doctor was no longer needed, after that he was sent on a transport to Auschwitz, and he died there, or he was murdered there actually. And the only reason why Gemmeke went through all that trouble to get a doctor and to help him and get the medicine was to keep people calm here, to let them know that nothing bad was going to happen to them. They would be taken care of. Well, obviously you can't see into the people's head from the past, but who knows if it actually worked. But there was one, it's just a weird story. It just shows the mentality that the Germans had in regards to the Jews here. And again, most of these structures, especially this tower, is a reconstruction. They did install parts of an original barrack in the back there. It was used as a pig, a housing for pigs. After the war, they found it, and a farmer was using it to store his pigs, and they managed to make a deal with the farmer, and they managed to almost completely rebuild it at you know, where it stood originally during the Second World War. This is the train tracks, and every piece of wood, I don't know the English word for it, but every piece of wood here represents a transport. So there are 93 pieces of wood here representing each and every transport that left this camp. And every year on May the 4th there's a ceremony here to commemorate the victims that lost their lives, and it's really special. It's if you have the chance and you are in the Netherlands for some reason around that time, then it is a real recommendation to visit this camp. You can meet people who lost, you know, you can meet people who lost their families here, or their dads, or their mothers here, and it's a really special place. And I think this might be the original train track. I don't know for sure. I don't think it's a reproduction or anything. Could be the original. I'm not sure. And at the end there, you can see that the railroad is broken up into the sky, and that is a symbol to show people that this or whatever happened here can never happen again. To our left there's a cellar that was used to store food, and nothing special over there. And right now we're going to walk towards the old Appelplatz. Every morning they would count heads there. Maybe I'll tell you a bit more about Anne Frank. She was arrested on August 4th, 1944, and who betrayed her and her family? I don't think that we know who that person was. There are some theories going around, but for sure I don't think we'll ever know. And she spent 3 months here. So I've got some facts written down on my phone, and it wasn't a year, it wasn't a month, just 3 months she and her family spent here before going to Auschwitz first, and then to, if I'm not mistaken, it's Bergen-Belsen, where she died of an illness just before the end of the war. And this is that original barrack I was talking about. And right here, this would have been the Appelplatz, where every morning or maybe every night, I'm not sure, they would count all the prisoners here, make sure everybody's here, no escapees. And we'll actually go inside right now. They did a pretty good job placing this thing here, and it's really weird just walking here, knowing what this building has to tell you. You know, what kind of stories this building has. And even right here, I hope it's visible on camera, there's some wooden planks missing, and what they would do is they would hide their valuables inside the wall of the barracks, and they would sleep here. There's a picture right there. I don't think you can see it, but there were bunks with 3 levels in every barrack, and you know, you have to think what would be the best place to sleep. Would it be the bottom, the middle, or the top? And this is actually pretty interesting. So if you would sleep at the top, or actually let's start at the bottom. If you would sleep at the bottom, right, you'll be in time for a roll call. You would be the first one out of the barracks, the first one at the square, just right there. But because there were so many people sick, people would defecate on you. You would get diarrhea on you because there were no mattresses. It was just a bit of grass, you know, to spill right through. So that would be a negative aspect of sleeping at the bottom. In the middle, though, you would have to be a bit more quicker in order to get on time on the uphill plots. You would also have the problem of people defecating on you, the diarrhea, the pee, and then lastly is the top. Well, you'd think that's great, I don't get any piss or pee on me. Well, it's really crowded in a barrack, and you could be late for roll call, and that could result in some serious punishment. So just sleeping in a barrack, you have to think about where you would sleep. And let's see, where is it? It should be somewhere around here. I've got a map of the place. So right there, yeah, let's go there. So right here they've built a monument. There are little stones with symbols on them, the Star of David and a flame representing the Roma and Sinti, and every stone represents a person, and it's laid out in the form of the Netherlands. And right behind this, so straight in front of you, there will be a building housing the Judenrat. And the Judenrat is basically a committee of Jews that willingly or were forced to work with the Germans and decide who would be going on a transport and who wouldn't. And it's a weird dynamic, this Judenrat, because on the one hand they're Jews and they're forced to work with the Germans, and on the other hand they decide who lives and dies. So it's a weird dynamic going on here, and it is known that some members of the Judenrat, not only in the Netherlands but also in other countries, here in Judenrat and in most occupied countries where the Holocaust would take place, is that you would have people who would abuse their power. So they'd make sure that friends and family would stay in the ghettos or in camps like this as long as they could, and other people had to take their place and go on deportation. And of course they'd take bribes, and in Hungary, if I'm not mistaken, there's stories of the head of the Judenrat who would rape his fellow female prisoners. So really weird, interesting dynamic, because you can, well, in this day and age, you'd say that everything they did is wrong, or, especially, of course, rape was wrong then and is still wrong now. So I'm not talking about that specifically, but what I am talking about is abusing your powers in order to save your friends and family. It's really hard, it's really easy to condemn those actions, but again, it's also really hard to imagine what you would have done as a person. At least that's what I think about, you know. I don't know what I would have done. It's so easy to try and help your friends and families or other loved ones, and let those strangers go in their place on those horrible train rides to Poland. So we've almost made a full circle. We could walk further down there. There's a tour guide going on, and to be honest, there's not much to see towards our left. The other foundations of the theater. That's also quite interesting. So Hamaka, he loved to boast about the famous Jews that were imprisoned here. So it's so weird. It was like he was collecting trading cards, and the famous Jews were the trading cards. So he would go up to his colleagues, I guess, and he would boast about the famous Jews that he had. And he would actually visit the theaters, and he would, he would sit there and enjoy the show. So I could have been actually. Yeah, so either in front of me was the kitchen, and to the right, the administration building. I should have gone to the right there. But you'll be able to get a better view of the camp itself now. And we're moving away to the entrance of the camp. And the building that has the camp commander, Hamaka, is the only building left that is original, that hasn't been moved or rebuilt. The only thing they did is a few years back is they built a glass dome around it to preserve it even better. And when they did build this glass dome, they found some artifacts, some memorabilia that, I don't know, maybe his family hid in the walls or the foundations of the house. But it is the only building that is originally still standing here. It's a pretty big house, and this is where he lived. So this is the first time that I am recording myself visiting a site from the Second World War. And I'm planning on doing more stuff like this because I am really interested in the war, and every time I visit a place I usually check if there's anything to see or to learn. And I'll probably take my GoPro with me the next time I'll do that. And I don't know, I kind of like doing this. If I wasn't recording, I would probably just talk to myself, and why not combine those two, upload it to the internet and see where it goes. So if you enjoyed it, or you have any tips, or you want to see anything else, well, just I guess let me know. That was it. Have a great day.